and already, thank you. That's a request from one of us. Thank you. Yeah. So because of that, it is important for us to then, of course, keep in abeyance, of course, one level of governance, but remember that the other 5 levels are already moving on in a sense and progressing. So it is in that context that we continue with this session, but not unaware, of course, of the other things going on in our nation right now. I will tackle 2 parts to do with what is accountability, and, or rather 3, and why accountability, and a bit about who is qualified to engage in accountability, just to set the context. And then I'll invite my colleagues to make it, give us very practical steps on how to do it, because I think that's where maybe many of us want to kind of enhance our skills, our abilities to be able to do that. But just before then, allow me to mention very briefly that since Lydia did mention that I serve at the International Leadership University currently. Of course, I've been a long-term member of LNET and participated with many of you. But that we have programs as well in the area. Our vision is to develop leaders of integrity. Our whole election has been around the question of integrity, or the lack of it, for that matter. And that's why we are spending billions of shillings as a country, because we cannot seem to sort out that issue. That's what we exist for, to raise, develop, mentor, train those kinds of leaders, both through our short courses in various areas, as well as the longer term programs, the academic programs, from certificate all the way to PhD in areas of leadership and governance. That has some subsets like things like marketing, business administration, organizational leadership, Christian ministry leadership, as well as at the higher levels, at the PhD level, we have educational leadership for those for whom that is of interest, corporate leadership, Christian ministry leadership, and public governance. And then we also have programs, and of course our older and traditional area has been theology and Christian ministry, including programs in children's ministry, as well as counseling psychology. And I just like to say usually that we have 3 outcomes that we seek in whatever we do. And I'm going to relate those to us, because that's also going to be important for us if you're going to be able to hold leaders to account. That there are 3 areas. First is character. We believe that that's important, not just competencies. That's what, of course, every institution does. They give you certain knowledge, skills, and but also maybe importantly, attitude. That's important. It's also partly related to character. And then, of course, leaders who can also engage their context and bring transformation. That's our desire in whatever we do. The programs are online for those who'd like to take them from the comfort of their home or office. And feel free to engage with us through our website or to reach out to me, and I'll be able to help. Well, let me go to the session for today. We have already prayed to start the session, and we want to thank each one of you again for coming. We'll try to engage as much as possible. Some of you, this is your area of expertise as well. I can see Winnie from AFCA, who's one of their focuses, or their main focus is this area of encouraging public accountability for organizations and ministries. So we will all try to bring whatever we can to strengthen this topic. So what is accountability? Very briefly, it is that concept of being answerable. Whether it's an individual, it can be a unit, an institution that needs to be answerable for performance and the outcomes of specific activities. So that sense that we are not an end in ourselves, we are answerable to somebody, an authority, a regulator, to a board, answerable to an individual, as a department, as an institution or unit for performance or outcomes that are designed. So of course, this is connected to why the institution exists or the individual exists. So that accountability is connected to the roles and responsibilities of the individual. In terms of, in the space of governance and ethics, of course, there is also connected closely beyond answerability is blameworthiness. Now, so that there's no blame, blamelessness for that matter, liability, there are liabilities, they are well understood and accepted. Somebody takes responsibility for them, a sense of account giving. So whether you do this again on a regular basis, this is usually structured for many institutions, like we have an annual audit, or you can have a monthly report if it's a management report. You can have a quarterly report to your maybe governance organ, to your board, or whatever else it is. So it is often structured in different ways. One of the things that is important in the context of accountability is transparency. Transparency, because then it allows then those who are responsible to be held, or those who are in authority to be held responsible for their actions. So transparency means that, of course, you get to know what's going on. You cannot hold people to account if you have no idea what they should be doing in the first place or what they are doing currently. That's why transparency helps and enhances accountability. And many times, sometimes people will interchange the two, although the two are different. Transparency is a context. Accountability, of course, are the actions that are done or not done, things that you look at. Excuse me. In the context of government, then it's voters like ourselves. We've just come from an election. And of course, part of the mistake we make is to now, once we put people in office, especially if they are our favorite people, we tend to go back to sleep. So to put it that way, we don't hold them to account. And therefore, then they go wrong. So it's important that we make sure that those who are in power, those who are in authority, are acting in the best interest of the citizens. And when they are not, we need to be able to sanction them. And I'm sure we'll be hearing a bit about that we have structures, even in our governance system, where we can sanction those who are not acting in the best interest of the citizens, or the voters for that matter. And then, of course, those that don't merit then lose the opportunity to be elected or to serve. One of the things, of course, that under as LNet or other contexts will be able to bring together maybe those who have lost in this last election. One of the beautiful ways they can engage still in governance is that they can hold to account those who won. And if they do it for 5 years and serve the interests of the community, I can almost be sure that by the time the 5 years are over, the citizens will say, no, these people look out for our interests. So, hopefully you can comfort, encourage those in your context who may have lost the election, that everything is not lost. They can still engage in the context of governance through holding to account those that won. Why accountability? Allow me on this one to invite you, because again, I'm sure you have some reasons why you came for this topic or to participate in this session. Why is it important to you? And I'm sure there are many reasons. I'm not looking for one. So if you can use the chat kindly. Why is it important for us to hold leaders to account? And again, there are many reasons. I'll like to hear from you, and then I'll add a few more if they will not have been shared. Why should we hold leaders to account? Hopefully you're at a place you can type through the chat. Just why should we hold leaders to account? Let's hear from you kindly. And the chat. Okay, public trust. They act on our behalf. Very good, thank you. That's from Abraham. Many, many reasons. So I'm not looking for one. Why should we hold leaders to account? Okay, to remind them of their mandate. It is true. They get there and they have many trappings. It is easy to forget why they got into office in the first place. Good point. Thank you, Fred. Let's hear from others. What are some other reasons to hold people to account? Why should we do it? Because it's important to have to be rightly motivated. Okay, let me give you a few more. Maybe you are still thinking, and feel free to still type, okay, to keep them on their toes. Yeah, that has a way of improving performance. When you are being watched, of course, that's not the only reason we should perform, but there's a way in which enhances that. Okay, make sure they deliver on their promises. They gave us beautiful visions and manifestos, so make sure that they can deliver on those. Let me give you a few more reasons as we continue to interact. One is that power has a corrupting influence. You know the statement, power corrupts. Of course, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Positions of influence, positions of leadership, and especially the way they are glorified in our country. You may know that in some countries, MCA level or the representatives are even part-time jobs. They're not paid. They are free. So you only get people who really want to serve the community. But in our place, of course, we know that, of course, suddenly lifestyle changes and everything. So all those trappings of power, of privilege, possessions, some of them, of course, pursue other passions. So there's a way in which power corrupts. And so it is human nature that, because of that people would need to be held to account. You may be familiar with the words of Edward Burke, that all that is needed for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. If we watch these people not doing anything, chances are that the sin in each one of us, which is also in our leaders, it will manifest, because they are protected in a sense, because of the power around them, privilege, possessions, passion, and so on. Those things can tend to, of course, take them off course, that they are not effective. The second reason is, of course, and again, this is from a Christian perspective, we know that all of us have a sin nature. This is the heart of every human being. Now, quick example. If you have tea, if you're having tea, whether even at church, but I was in one church on Saturday, and we were talking about that. If you're having tea after maybe fellowship or after a meeting, and the tea comes with mandazi, what is the human tendency? Is it to go for the small mandazi or the big mandazi? For all of us, there is an innate desire to go for the big mandazi. That's what your eye spots first. Now, of course, if you are mature and so on, to moderate your behavior, you're a bit polished, you possibly will allow somebody else to have the big mandazi. But, the heart of man, human beings is basically corrupt, Sin is part of us. And so even though there are some of our best leaders, those ones that you really wanted to put into office, unfortunately, they also have that sin nature, just like you and I do. So we need to hold them to account, to keep them from the excesses of sin, which is in all of us, from taking them off course. Thirdly, is an aspect of governance, or good governance, like somebody says here, that it's our responsibility to foster good governance. And so especially in the public sector, of course, good governance, accountability is in all sectors, the private sector, the public sector, and even in the civil society, in the communities, in the church. We need accountability and governance, of course, good governance everywhere, but especially in the public sector, and this is important. We took a lot of time to vote. We persisted, we waited, many of us, and, to hear those, results announced and so on. So having invested so much, we should take good governance then to the next level. And accountability and encouraging an environment of transparency is the next thing we can do to ensure that there is a good accountability. But lastly, maybe the other thought that I had, the last one I'll mention for now, is many of these leaders come in with certain interests into office. Many of them partisan interests. Think about the fact that in many communities, to be voted, you have to have a certain clan. You have to belong to a certain clan or clan interests, leave alone tribe, maybe taking it down to the clan, or tribe, of course, or region, or religion, whatever it is. And all those interests will tend to be the ones that they think about when they are in office. Yet, constitutionally, and of course, as believers, we are called to serve everyone. We are called to make sure that everybody is taken care of, especially those who are the most vulnerable among us. That's what the Bible says in the book of James, about true religion being about taking care of even, the widows and orphans and so on, those who are disadvantaged, the minorities, that will be the common big name today, taking care of those. So accountability ensures that everybody is served, regardless of their last name, regardless of whether you voted for those leaders or not. If they are in office, their role is to serve everyone, and so on. So those could be some reasons. There are others, of course, but I just thought to pick out a few, remind us why we should do it and why we should be involved. But finally, maybe before I finish that, to look at the fact that believers in Yahweh and later on, of course, in Christ, show us good examples in the scriptures, because, of course, everything we do as believers needs to be anchored on the scriptures. And there are many people, I wanted actually to engage us again here briefly, who are some believers? Again, just put the name. We'll not go into the context for now because of time, but who are some believers in the scriptures that were involved in holding, especially public leaders, kings or other people who are in public leadership to account in the scriptures? Who are some examples? What are some examples that you can think of? Believers who are involved in confronting, talking truth to power, or people who are in authority in their time. Who are some believers that you can think of? Just again, for us to anchor this in the scriptures and look at some biblical bases and biblical examples for holding people, leaders to account. Okay, the prophet Nathan, yeah, that's a big one, confronting David. I was just recently reading about him in my devotions. And of course, his tact, being able to give a story. And of course, eventually King David owns up and he says, you are the person, you are the man, so prophet Nathan, we know about him confronting David about his sin with Bathsheba. Who are some others? There are quite a few. Okay, Moses, okay, to do with the children of Israel and their need to be liberated. The prophet Jeremiah. Okay, let's keep going. There are many. Okay, let me add a few more since I have thought about this before. Think about Elijah with King Ahab, Elisha as well, Esther. We better be careful so that it doesn't look like it's a man-only field. Esther also spoke on behalf of the Jews, when they were going to be annihilated, by King Xerxes, and was able to liberate them. Joseph, we see him being able to do that. There are other names, Timothy there. John the Baptist. Oh, that's one of the ones who paid the high price for confronting King Herod about, of course, something that was in his private life, so to speak. But because he was going to be a leader, on behalf of God's people, John the Baptist wanted him to make things right regarding, even though it was his private matter, so to speak, like many people today would say, no, don't talk about that. That's the leader's private matter. No, we know very much that who they are in private affects a lot what they do in public. Jesus, our Lord Jesus, you remember he also did that. So Timothy, Deborah, other names I'm seeing there. So the Lord Jesus, again, sending word back to Herod in his day, about his activities and so on. The strong words he used there. Go tell that fox that I'll do this today and tomorrow. And so on. Of course, we are called to be moderate and know our language. Jesus, there was a context in which he was saying that and how that was understood in the context. Paul, of course, before King Agrippa and so on, and Felix. So you see many, many examples. I just wanted us to be at home with this as believers, that this is very much in our space. That's why we should be having the freedom to engage in accountability, in enhancing good governance, and so on. So what are the who I wanted to just think about some qualities. What are some qualities? And then I'll be handing over the session then to Abraham and Vincent. But let's talk a bit about some heart preparation and maybe characteristics of the kind of person who can engage in good governance. Because there's need for us to have some mental, heart, spiritual, and even maybe other preparation to be able to engage. What are some things that are important to you? That you have found helpful in your own lives or that you think would be helpful for somebody to engage in good governance. So let's again use the chat for a moment. Just what are some things that you think would be helpful for us to be able to engage in good governance? Humility, very good, thank you. Winnie, because it is easy, because it is them, kind of doing whom we are holding to account, it is very easy to just, do it without a sense of humility. Very, very important that we do it in humility. Putting yourself in a sense in their shoes. If you are the one, what would you have done or what would you wish done if you are the one who was being held to account? So humility, thank you. Courage. It will definitely take courage, like Nathan you saw, or Esther, Christ, John the Baptist. We see a need for courage. Very well, thank you. Being an example of accountability, you know, you are not asking people to do what you are not doing yourself. Thank you. Very good. That we ourselves hold those same values. Anything else that you can think of? Integrity. Again, so again, that we ourselves, our own lives, hold together, that you're not asking people to do what we ourselves are not willing to do or are not doing. Okay, let me add a few more. Of course, there is also a preparation that is to do with knowing the role. You cannot hold somebody to account if you don't know what their role is. So it behoves us to understand what's the role of an MCA, of an MP, and I'm sure my colleagues will speak a bit to that, of the governors, of the woman representative, of the senators, of the president, so that I will be able to hold them to account, so that, because accountability has, of course, relates to their roles and responsibilities. We also, at times, and there are times that I myself have tried to hold others to account, only to realize that I didn't have the full information. So another part of humility is a willingness to apologize when corrected. Because you may go to the leader and you realize that, okay, there was a reason for doing certain things. But because you are not having the privilege of understanding everything, you realize that you maybe were judging the situation or their actions on limited information. So the need to apologize when duly informed or corrected. Of course, a person who reflects a bit, especially because leaders, of course, hold power and so on, or authority. It's good not to be hasty in, of course, going to correct them, especially in this era of fake news, because you can see something easily on social media and, of course, assume it is gospel truth. There is a lot of fake news right now. And unfortunately, it has almost become an accepted way of doing things. Host, if you can kindly mute everyone so that you don't have interference. Host, kindly, and if you can kindly all mute if you're not speaking. Francis, if you could kindly do that. Kindly mute. Thank you. So I was talking about the place of reflection, not being hasty, so that you kind of have a chance to cross-check what you had, whether it is true, before you go to hold the leader to account, because then, that way then they don't think you are just simply undermining them or, being vengeful and so on. Lastly, it is important that, of course, we learn to build, two more things. Build trust. They say, just like with parenting or other areas, if you are going to be in this space, for every one thing you correct, applaud them for another 5 things they do well. Leaders hardly get encouragement. They tend to get a lot of flack, a lot of, the negatives. Very, very few people do the positives. During the election season, I found it very helpful just to, support the various candidates on both sides of the divide, or the two big main divides, to pray with them, to ask them how I could support them. And you could really tell they really appreciated during the difficult times in the campaigns, and then later on during the elections, during the waiting for results, and just being there for them. So build trust by being able to do that. When you do that, then you earn the right, so to speak, to be able to speak to them. I also could mention that one of the candidates for my MCA position in my ward lost in 2017, but I kept in touch and I kept trying to encourage him from time to time. In fact, closer to the election, he came to tell me, now I think I'm going to run again, and kind of wanted me to pray with him and encourage. There were various things that we discussed, and well, by God's grace, he won this time. So in a sense, I've earned a bit more right to hold him to account, because I've built a relationship of trust. So trust building is also important with leaders. I'm not trying to say you cannot challenge them, even if you don't know them, but you have a bit more right. They'll take you more seriously and maybe give you whatever more weight when there is that relationship. Lastly, if you're going to be in this space of accountability, try not to ask things for yourself. The challenge I think that we have many times, I think that's a trap that sometimes pastors fall into, is that when you have an opportunity, then you exploit it. You basically, ask for all the things you have never have wished, for your, for maybe your relatives or jobs or whatever. If you do that, usually you don't get very far, because then they realize every time they pick your call, you are asking for something. So I make it a point that those that I work with, I never ask them for any favors. Yes, I have relatives, cousins, and other people who need jobs, but I try never to ask for those things, so that my relationship with them is purely on the basis of this accountability relationship. So I use other channels, of course, to try and meet those needs. So just some few thoughts to think about in terms of who can engage them, who can engage in accountability, I guess just in terms of heart preparation, mindset, and maybe a few other things. I'll stop here for the sake of time, and first request Dr. Abraham Rogo Morel. He is the director who's in charge of the international budget partnerships here in Kenya, and has been very involved in working with counties and other entities, other aspects of your national government. And I'm sure he'll bring that to bear as he helps us to understand how does accountability look like, what are some ways we can engage in accountability in the area of budgets, policy making, and so on. So over to you, Abraham. Thank you. He's joining us actually internationally. I appreciate his commitment to wake up a bit earlier than usual to be able to be here.
Thanks, team, and greetings from Lilongwe. It's a pleasure to join all of us for this forum. I appreciate the opportunity, and as a team has said, I do work in budgets, but more than that, I am born again Christian, Christ is Lord, and it's a pleasure for me to be able to serve Him. I consider this a very high calling to serve in this opportunity. So, yeah, rightly, the work I do has been involving checking public budgets, so analyzing them, engaging with citizens to build their capacity, to be able to be able to hold their leaders to account, working with the leaders themselves. So anytime there is a budget decision that is under consideration, particularly at the national level, submitting memorandums and doing basically everything. And I think that's all I have done for basically all my working life. But I bring this also from a faith perspective, because as Tim has shared, that we owe it to ourselves to build the city that the Lord has called us. I think the words in Jeremiah 29 should be verse 7 and 8 or thereabout. Verse 6, 7, 8. That does talk about this whole idea about building, about seeking the peace and prosperity. And I believe that part of our responsibility of seeking peace and prosperity is being, is actually working to build a peaceful society, a prosperous society. And that then means that we are involved in our society. If host, you can allow me to share, I just want to share an image as I discuss this. Now, it's important for us to appreciate that the leaders who have been elected, regardless of whether we voted for them or didn't vote for them, are now responsible for making our society prosperous or non-prosperous. And it does not matter whether that MCA is a former photographer, is a butcherman, is Mama Mboga, is a thug in the estate. It does not matter. They are now the ones who are responsible for making decisions that will affect you and will affect me. And perhaps will affect many more people, because those of us on this call are among the privileged in society. You can afford bundles, you can afford to join a call like this, but there are many Kenyans who do not have that privilege. And they are the ones who bear the largest brand when public services are not functional, and they are the ones also who largely depend on public services. So the realization that we have leaders in office and their responsibility is to make decisions that will affect our well-being is a call enough for us to care. Because when drugs are not available at the hospital, when roads are not functioning, when there is no water, when security is a mess, when the education system of our children is all over the place, we are the ones who bear the brunt of that. I think that is a fair case made. And therefore, I think a starting point is for you to then establish and know for yourself, who is your governor? Who is your member of parliament? Who is your, a senator? Where is their office? They have a phone number that you can be able to access. Of course, and many of them change their phone numbers almost immediately because of just, on one hand, people say it's really for them to try and hide, but for others, it's just the sheer number of calls that come, that Tim was talking about. Those calls for help me get a job, help me on, and all those kind of, but get to know very practically. Do you have the number of your MCA, or at least his PA or her PA? Do you have the number of your MP or at least their PA or her PA? Do you have the number? And later on, when the governors establish their offices, critical county executive committee members. But often we focus so much, and I wanted to start with this, we focus so much on the elected leaders, yet they have a role. But let us not also forget that in each of these dockets, whether in health, in agriculture, in water, or in all these other spaces, the decisions around public, there's a public service involved. So there's a docket for health at the county level. There's a docket for agriculture, and there are public servants who are engaged in these things on a day-to-day basis. And therefore, it's important for us not to miss that opportunity of knowing that indeed we have a possibility to be able to engage with these people on a continuous basis. Allow me to share this because I came, I come from the budget world, and therefore I wanted to. I hope this does show what I'm trying to do. Unfortunately, it has refused. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put it on the chat box, and you can look it at your own time. But basically, what I wanted to say is that the process of holding our leaders to account is a continuous one. There is no stopping point, and it's continuous because the budget, as it were, the budget making process in Kenya is
not agreement.
Host, kindly mute the others.
Kindly. So the budget making process is continuous. It does not stop. And why do I talk about the budget? Because for government to be able, so you see it, I just put it a calendar there, and you're able to download and share. I will appreciate if possible from your end. But no, I'll just be speaking because I have just a few minutes. So one is that it's a continuous process. It starts from once these officials, and now let's talk about the elected officials. As soon as they settle in at the county level, they are going to be faced with one first responsibility of developing their county integrated development plans. At the national level, we are also going to be working on MTP4, so the medium-term plan for Vision 2030 or whatever other structure. What are these going to mean? Is that each of the persons who was elected on basis of some form of manifesto or promises, or claim. They said they promised a certain number of things that they will do. Now, all this will be consolidated, especially at the county level, through the county integrated development plan. And there it presents to you a great opportunity to be able to go and ensure that, first of all, the things that you voted for, or at least you wanted done, even if the person you voted for didn't win, are actually included in that development plan. That will be the first order of business across all the counties, even at the national level. Once the planning is done, then they will start, of course. There's already a budget that is being implemented right now for the 2022-2023 financial year. but they will start repurposing that budget through what we call supplementary budgets. They will reorganize that budget so that then it can help them achieve the promises that they made. Remember, the budget was done under a previous regime, and even for those governments that have been re-elected, for counties that have re-elected their governor, though they are very few, spread all over the place. Then, and I think majority of them have new governors, they are going to be repurposing that kind of engagement. So starting point is, do you know who you are dealing with? Who is your MCA? Now, for the purposes of being able to follow what is happening, we know very well that on one hand, we have the executive. So I did talk about the executive. So the governor and the president, once we know the results of the presidency, they will form their cabinets. They are in charge of the public service. But let's move to the side of the legislature. Now, the legislature is responsible in Kenya for approving. So the budget I have just shared, when you open it up, you will see that there's a whole cycle. And I'm sorry, I'm completely unable to share from this side. There's a whole cycle that then we are entered of, that starts with formulation of the budget, that goes to the approval of the budget, that goes to the implementation of the budget, and then finally ends with auditing, or what we call evaluation of the budget. Now, why is the budget central for accountability? It's central for accountability because it is the instrument through which governments allocate resources to achieve the promises, to achieve the engagements that they have committed as it were. So you realize that because of that, because of the let me do one more last trial here. Sorry, Tim, this is just taking me to other places. Sorry, okay. If I can be helped, I'll appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So, but let me just explain, because I think you can look at it at your own time. So the reason why at the county level, the member of county assembly is central is that through these stages, they are the ones who approve all those decisions. I know some of you are shaking your head and wondering, good Lord, will the kind of people who are elected be able to do this? They don't have to be able, they are responsible. And it is us, and I'll come to that in a minute, to be able to make sure that they are making the right. As they do this, they need to ask questions. And any manner of questions are allowed on the floor of the House. But let me explain something that is extremely important. The constitutional framework that we adopted for ourselves is, by the fact that it's a presidential, it's a committee system. So a lot of activity does not happen on the floor of the county assembly or on the floor of the National Assembly. Imagine even if it was to happen, 349 members, when if each of them was to speak for one day, to speak each day, at least, it will be a whole year before, and they're not in session every other day. So they do a lot of things in the committees. That is where questions are asked. So I go back to the first thing I say, do you know your MCA? Do you know your member of parliament? Do you know your senator? Because that is the best channel to be able to ask and raise questions. Are you bothered about the state of that dispensary? Are you bothered about the state of that road? Are you bothered about? And to keep asking, this is of one of the things that I have learned through the 15 or so years in this space, is that don't get tired of asking the same questions. Ask, Luke 18, the persistent widow. Keep asking. And, because that's so the MCAs are going to be responsible for making sure, for ensuring that the commitments that were made, thank you so much. This is what I wanted to just show. So I wanted to show you that it's a continuous process. It does not stop. And at your own time, I don't have time to go to each of the stages. But important is that through the formulation stage, which is the blue stage, through the implementation, the approval, which is the green stage, through the, the implementation and the red, the audit process. All those steps, they don't stop. They are continuous and continuous. And therefore, don't say that, oh, I wanted to raise a question on the state of the roads. This is some of the spaces where you can even fake ignorance and say, I don't know which stage of things are, but this is my problem. These are the problems we are having. But let me get a bit more practical on how then do we do this. So I've talked about us knowing the process. I've talked about us making every effort to know who are our representatives, especially in the National Assembly, our MPs and the county women reps. At the Senate, not so much, but the main ones for purposes of being able to hold the government accountable through the elected system is the MCA at the county level and the MP at the national level, because those ones are the ones that have a direct mandate of holding the executives at the two levels of government. So how then do we do this? There are spaces that have been opened up, some of them more active than others. And one of those spaces is the old space of writing letters and petitions. It is a space that has not been explored very seriously, but holds a lot of weight. But what have we learned? That even when you do the petitions, it is even more powerful if you do it as a group. And a group that can be located within a space. This is what I mean. If you write and say, we as the residents of this and this area, and those people, you can be located in that space. So that what that means is that it gives you the legitimate claim of what you are saying, because politicians are about numbers. And they want to know that the people who are disturbing them actually are members in their constituencies, are not just busybodies, because there are also very many busybodies out here who are trying to claim mileage. But secondly, that you are not interested per se in pulling down their government or destroying what they are doing, because some try to destroy because they have intentions of vying in 2027. So 2022 now is done. And therefore, they try to make sure that everything that is being done positively, they are pulling it down so that then they have a claim. They have something they can campaign. So petitions, writing letters, writing emails where possible, and keeping records of such, I think is not only I think is critical. Every time there is a decision being considered, it is publicized for public participation, whether in social media, of the different web pages of your county, of the national government, or on the newspapers. Respond to those calls. Put together a memorandum. And a memorandum need not be a technical document. It just needs to be an expression of your interests as far as public services are concerned. Where you have time, join a forum. Join a space, join a WhatsApp group where the leader, the member of parliament, or the MCA is involved, and be the persistent one who is asking questions. As Estima said, was asking with wisdom, but also not just asking. And this is the third and almost my final point, not just asking and questioning, but also contributing to solutions. Many Kenyans don't provide solutions, they just point the problem. And we have become very good. And perhaps it's for us to start asking our mind, do we have a picture of what we desire to see? And not just a reality of what we don't want to see. If I think about healthcare, if I think about water services, if I think about security, if I think about transport, do I actually have a solution I can contribute to? But third and lastly, all of us are in one way or another involved in a forum, in a professional group of some sort, either within our areas of trade and engagement, or through our resident associations. Can we utilize those spaces? The constitution we passed is such a knowledge-heavy, engagement-heavy, framework of governance that then when we don't utilize those spaces. Even if you go to the streets, people say, why are you complaining? Did you come to that forum? When did you last send your petition? What did you say? Or you're just complaining out there, and therefore then you're branded as just that noisemaker who just wants to destroy. So in conclusion, I just wanted to emphasize that it is important for us to appreciate that these are the leaders now we have. They are with us for the long haul. Let us help them become better through constructive contribution, not just pointing the problem, but providing the solution. Let us remember this is a continuous process. It does not stop. So do not raise an issue and then go quiet. Raise it in January, raise it in February, raise it again and again and again and again, because that is how our structure of constitution. And finally, remember that it really depends on all of us to be able to build a country. I must not forget to say that as we do all these things, let us continue to pray for our country to prosper, to pray for our wards to prosper, to pray for our counties to prosper. Tim, I'll stop there because I know we are strained of time. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I think I know that Abraham has to leave for another engagement. We appreciate him taking time to share with us. But maybe if you can take a question before we bring on Vincent in a short moment. Maybe we'll allow you to take a question if there is a burning question from any of us regarding what he has shared or things related to that area of budgets and the importance of this county and national budgets, and of course, the bigger framework that he talked about. Okay, maybe not for right now, so maybe we can pick that up later. Allow me to now bring to us Mr. Vincent Kimosop, again, a well-known speaker and facilitator in many sessions, in many contexts. He did quite a lot of work in the context of helping our country, set a stage for unclaimed assets recovery, and being able to do that. And he's done, that's one of the hallmarks. Yes, that's his email for Abraham. For those of us who'd like to get in touch with him, he has left his email on the chat. And currently also consults and facilitates many sessions. I know he's worked quite a bit with even some of the political aspirants and candidates, and through his farm, the Sovereign Insights. And so without further ado, let me bring Brother Vincent Kimosop to take it up and share a bit more from his space, especially in the area of the economy, the public policy, and lawmaking, or the legislative aspect of governance. So Vincent, over to you, please.
Yeah, good morning all. I am joining us from Baringo. Just for your information, as Tim said, Tim, I actually am here for the inauguration. I was chairing.
I thought so.
I was steering a campaign team, and fortunately we won. So here I'm held in high regard and a lot of respect. I am not complaining. I am just saying I'll use that as a good example of how we can hold leaders into account. Just for your information, team, I and Abraham have also worked very closely with members of parliament through the International Institute for Legislative Affairs. And just for you, just to share a testimony really of what Christians can do if they choose to exercise and use the talents that they have. The Bible says Moses is told, "What do you have in your hand?" And at ILA, I'm just testifying today when I look at our spaces that are smoke-free, when I look at the bill, when I look at the work on alcohol control that people are discussing, when I look at the buses that have been painted yellow, all that was done because of just brethren coming together and says, what do we have in our hands? So I just want to say this, that good people, we cannot do everything, but we can do something. And I just want to encourage us that when it comes to the space of accountability, I know I'm coming in after great speakers, but try just to add the following. The journey of calling people into accountability, for me, I would say it is the space of advocacy. And I usually tell people that if you want to be a good advocate or in the space of advocacy, you have to do three things. One, you have to speak to the head. And that is the whole space of facts and figures, the place of information. I think Tim has alluded to that. We have to be aware, what exactly are we speaking about? So knowledge is very, very, very important. The head. The heart is about our ability to relate problems, challenges to people. It is all about people. Even Jesus himself says, for God so loved the world. He loved the people. And Tim, one of the things I've discovered in this space now that God has opened doors, we are speaking to the country, locally and internationally, is that I cannot advance justice if my heart is one of the things that I see as becoming, of them have tied the cause of justice to only an individual. Let's remember that God is sovereign. God can utilize anyone. I see the Bible telling us very clearly that my servant Nebuchadnezzar, you are my tool. You are, as in I will use you as my servant. Let's also see God saying that my servant Cyrus. Let's not die, let's appreciate that when we are advancing courses, our hearts, let's check our motives and our intentions. If it's about us, we will not make the headway and the impact. I look at somebody like Martin Luther King, who says clearly that for me, I'm no longer putting on the hat of hate. I am making the difficult choice to put on the light burden, the burden of love. I have to love people, Tim. I'm here in Baringo, I am thankful that we were able to succeed, even be able to form a government. But one of the things I will tell you is that I already see the problems that comes with people who want to now push private interests instead of pushing the bigger causes, in terms of causes that that will make the lives of people better. It's a sacrifice, Team, because we are living on this earth. I'm already getting questions. You ulikuwa una support so and so. Sasa utapata nini? I get the same question when people ask me, oh, you are the chairman of unclaimed assets. And this even comes from brethren, people. One of the things I have to say that the journey of calling people to accountability is costly, and particularly if we are doing it to bring glory and honor to the Lord and our Savior Jesus Christ. So I'll say that please remember the first one about the issue of the heart, our ability to connect what we are doing to people in terms of bettering people, improving their lives. And it's hard at times when we don't even see results immediately. But I just want to say, Team, today, when I look back at unclaimed financial assets, which you have just shared, having a quantum ability to have mobilized over 50 billion, money that today, if that institution was not set, who knew where that money would have been? Number of people it has employed, number of monies that it has reunited with people, just giving, it is possible, good people. But if you do it by understanding the processes, by understanding the systems and the structures that can ensure that something can go through. For example, if you know, if something is to go through parliament, please connecting with a parliamentarian. If something is to go through the county government, connecting with an MCA. If something is to go through the business community, connecting with the business association. If it's to go through an NGO, please utilizing these platforms. And maybe, Team, one of the things that we can do just to strengthen this discourse one of these days, because I noticed that the topic is broad, is if we can break down to systems and processes that facilitate accountability. So today, I know the topic was how to hold leaders. Just to say, one of these days, we can just even have another discussion on systems and processes that facilitate accountability, so that we narrow the discourse to ensure that people understand. Like if I was to work with our National Assembly, how do I go about it? Because there are people who are interested in doing something, and at times they just don't know how to go about it. Which institutions can facilitate, either as private sector or civil society, or even just a faith-based organization. I serve as the secretary of the Kenya Christian Professionals Forum. And if this was to share how such platforms can be utilized, I think we become more specific and practical. The third thing, team, that I would want to speak about the issue of advocacy is the issue of the wallet, which is the cost dimension. Our ability to break the things that we are doing and relating it with money. For example, if I am interested in the area of education, and maybe I'm in Kilimani or I'm in Baringo, breaking that down and says that if this school is built, if this dispensary is built, this is how it will contribute in terms of it will help maybe reduce the number of women who are going to this place. When people see money, money has a way, it's a language in itself. So for me, those three things in advocacy have really guided the work that we do in terms of holding people into account, in terms of the head, generating facts and figures, the heart, relating our issues to people, and then finally, the wallet is bringing it down to a cost. If I say this number of roads or this number of, just let me give the example. If we can get more water to this number of families, this is what it will do in terms of the number of people who will get, reducing the number of people who will fall sick. So appreciating that these issues are interrelated, but when they're spoken about from a monetary perspective, they have a way of sending the message home. Team, I want to applaud the International Leadership University for getting into such spaces. I have to say this because I was just looking at the IEBC, for example, a missed opportunity. They put all their forms and information on the portal, team. And if ILU had an International Leadership University, you had a political science department, I see, like, for example, that a missed opportunity by the University of Nairobi Political Science Department. If they had tallied all that information and just said, this is how our figures look like. And that for me was just a small opportunity for holding an institution like IEBC accountable. And even if it means moving to the Supreme Court, such a department would have said, this is what our tallies are, this is what our information is telling us, and they contribute to enhancing and deepening accountability. So what I'm just trying to point out is that there are opportunities that present to us. Technology presents an opportunity to enhance accountability, and also the platforms like the media, social media, and even the traditional media. If you want to say something, I see great people here, and I commend, for example, the work done by Africa, my sister Winnie Jenga, in terms of generating tools that can be used by institutions. Because when the church, for example, works, we know very well that their voice becomes sharp. The church has a voice, but I find at times substance becomes a problem, where you speak, but you're speaking in generalities. You're not providing technical input that strengthens that voice. So I'll say finally, so that we can also facilitate others to share in this platform. And I also don't want to repeat what you've said, Dr. Tim, together with what Amza said, that let's not fear to reinforce each other's voices. That's why, Tim, when you reached out to me and said, are you able to handle this topic? The answer was yes. Why? Because we complement each other. We are on the same side. Homes do well, what happens overall, they contribute to broadening the kingdom agenda and improving things in our country. I was on TV the other day and I said, one of the reasons why I support the petition that's before the Supreme Court is because I know even if it's not granted, we will improve and we will become better as a people. So I want to encourage us that let's look at as we look for accountability calls for two things. That even as we look for the forest, let's also see the individual trees. And at times, let's not focus so much on only looking at that one tree. Oh, this was not done. Let's also see that the many trees are the ones that actually produce and give us the beautiful forest, which is the beautiful country that we so desire to build. Those are my submissions, team. In summary, what it takes to be a good advocate, also just coming together to share the stories of success, so that we can encourage one another. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you very much, Vincent. I really appreciate you also joining us as you also prepare for the celebrations later today as your new governor, the elected governor is installed today. Before we get into some time of questions, I would like to encourage us to use the chat, like was mentioned. You can kind of note some questions there so that any of us can take time to respond to the questions. But as you work on the questions, as you write your questions, let me share with us 3 aspects of what ELNET does and how they contribute to this aspect of enhancing accountability. One is that several of us have mentioned how it is difficult for the leaders who are in office because there is that, and Vincent has spoken to that. People keep asking, what are you getting? What is returning for you in this? This is because deep down people believe that you cannot succeed unless you do things corruptly. That's the basic mindset of many, many people, even in the governance space or people in leadership. They are looking for the big break, for the big deals and so on, rather than doing their work faithfully for 5 years, earning a salary and being able to retire with dignity. So the ELNET Business Group enhances the area of business being done with integrity and for business leaders who are doing things ethically and being able to give them, do an assessment and profile them in the public space as role models, as well as organizations or businesses that are doing work ethically. So if you'd be interested in that, again, you can share with the Secretariat. If you'd be interested to hear me a bit more about the ELNET assessments, our chair is Marcin Derito for that, and you can also talk to the Secretariat, and we'll be able to provide for you the support and process. And we don't publicize this until the day you are successful. So this is a way of transforming business in terms of values, because the corruption issue is a big issue, even as we talk about accountability. The second area that's important is that we recognize that, of course, good governance is important. And I was going to use an example from what Abraham Rugo said. Once a budget has been passed in a participatory process, the county assembly held sittings, they have minutes that in each sub or ward or sub-county, they held sittings, and citizens came and passed that budget. You cannot change that budget. Even if the budget is faulty, even if the budget has issues, it will have to go back to the assembly. For example, you may remember, and I say this not to slight the person who was then there, now he's been re-elected again. You may remember about those wheelbarrows in Bungoma County, that were costing, I think, 100,000 each. Now that process, that procurement process went through the county assembly and the sittings. And because governance, good governance, you'd like to strengthen that. Moses Mokera is our blip. Sorry, about that. I was just going to say Moses Mokera is available. Churches, many organizations would like to be strengthened in this area of good governance. So if you'd be interested to be a facilitator, to be able to speak, again, I'm sure the governance team will be preparing various people and also affording them opportunities to do that. Finally, what is our biggest challenge as a country? Even whether in the governance space and so on, is basically changing our value system. Regardless of which, let me talk about the two big coalitions. One side, of course, had Babacare and the 6,000 for the most vulnerable. The other side has the Hustlers Fund. Whichever one of those eventually will be the case, depending on the Supreme Court, none of them will transform this country. Why? Because we have to change the underlying value system. If you gave this to this youth who is addicted to gambling, addicted to alcohol, who has a bad work ethic, spent in a wise way, and so on, or even if you give them, that's really an opportunity for us as Christians. And again, Elnet has a mentoring group that looks at especially enhancing the values of young people. And again, if you are interested in that space, there are a number of us who have been trying to help in that area so that we have the ideas come with a new value system. That we believe is at the heart of what will really bring long-term change. What the politicians are doing is they doesn't solve the problem long. Moral value system. And I believe that had. So I just want to mention those three aspects beyond today so that you can know how to engage with Elnet, especially if this is your first to be at an Elnet forum, to know that the area of business can be transformed to do business ethically, the area of values to do with the underlying values, especially of the young people, so that it's not just about handouts and easy life. It's about working hard and decent pay for that work and so on. And then also the area of good governance and accountability. Any questions or comments? I have lost a bit of my chat when my internet blipped. So in case I don't pick up yours, please, and the phone number for the secretariat is given 0731 8. So if you'd like to get in touch with Elnet, any of the groups I've mentioned or get any further clarification, that will be possible there. There's a comment from Gerald Waterfang. A great topic and very encouraging. Signs into after too much pain, after observing from the periphery, that the citizens are beginning to renew of their minds through ethics, good governance, and inclusive participation, holding our characters to highest accountability. Very good. Thank you. That's what we are really all about. Can do something in this space. If there's no other comment or question, I think I'll allow us to maybe go to us. Yes. Sorry, I don't know why I have to. Maybe over back to you, Lydia, and I was just going to say, hand it over back to you. Sorry about my internet. I've had two sources, actually. I'm using two sources and both somehow failed. Okay, back to us, to you, Lydia. Thank you very much. And if there's anything else we can do for you, happy to do that.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the speaking. And I know we've picked our points and know where to start from. Thank you, Vincent and Abraham in absentia. And I thought people would have so many questions on this, or is it such a hard one to crack? But I know we still pondering through, and maybe Dr. Tim, if you have a written presentation so that we will send it to those who attended, and so that they will be able to follow through. And even the slide that you share from Abraham, I think it wasn't that clear. So maybe somebody will want to see it through at their own time and get to understand it. Yeah, so
maybe Lydia, I can also add, I'm sure that maybe if you host the recording on Facebook, on the LNet Facebook page, that would be another way to access the whole presentation from all of us, including the ones that are, the input from people and so on. So that would be another way, because I know a number of people had mentioned they may not be available, but they are interested in the topic. So if you do that, then we can refer them to the LNet Facebook page or the website. You can let us know maybe after this.
Okay. Today we weren't able to host on Facebook, but as tomorrow it will be on our YouTube page.
Okay.
Yeah, that is LNet Kenya, so that somebody is able to follow through. After I've just downloaded it from Google, from Zoom, I will upload it on our YouTube page, and someone is able to follow through.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you very much, everyone. And I will just call Winnie Njenga, if she's still around, to close for us with the word of prayer.
Yes, I'm still around, and I'd be honored to close us out in prayer. Our Lord and our God, we are grateful for the call you give us to tend that which you have put before us, the environment, our government, and our spheres of influence. Thank you, Lord, for the way that you continually equip us to be effective in exercising this responsibility. And so, Father, we ask that we would not be as those who hear and go away and do nothing, or as those who see themselves as in a mirror, as your word says, and goes away and forgets the image. But rather, Lord, that we would do what is the next best thing and find the avenues through our basic areas of engagement, our residences, where our families and our children reside every day. That, Father, we would be conscious and cautious to do the time and bear the cost of engagement for the betterment of our residential spaces, plugging into our constituencies, and then engaging largely to our counties and making a difference in the nation as Christians. And so help us, Lord, with this mandate. Give us the wisdom, the head, the heart, and the cost framework for this. We also pray that we continue to enlighten ourselves and to put ourselves in the place of information and education so that we would be effective in this mandate. So, Lord, we pray that this electoral cycle, we will find a better nation because we have a better level of knowledge in engagement. I pray and call out every Christian leader to be committed to this, knowing, Lord, that it is your heart for your people, and you give us spaces of influence so that we may exercise this for your greater glory, for the benefit of your people, and even for our own blessing. Thank you for Dr. Tim. Thank you for Abraham. Thank you for my brother, Vincent. Thank you, Lord, for the time that they have put in to enlighten us. Now I pray, Lord, that you would continue to build these blocks, even as Elnet, together with ILU and other institutions called by your name, expand this space and bring knowledge to your people, that we would not perish for a lack of knowledge. Bless them and refresh them out of the generosity of their giving this morning. And Lord, also bless and refresh us as we go into this day. Give us fruitfulness and productivity in all that we put our hands to, and let your name be glorified. We pray this with thanksgiving in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
So yeah, we are the salt. We are the salt of the world and the light of the earth. And I pray that we go forth and shine our light and do the good, even if you are just that one person. Make sure you're doing that which you value and you know that is right. And I know our nation will rise up to be the nation we want. May the Lord bless us. Yeah.
Amen. Thank you, Lydia.
Yes. Our board chair to say hi to the people. John Nganga.
The meeting has already ended. Kwaheri.
Bye. Okay. Thank you, and the Lord bless you.
Thank you, Lydia, and thank you to our facilitators. They've done a wonderful job.
Karibuni sana. It was good to engage together, and I believe we can all do something to take this further. Good to see you, Dr. Ndeko, Milka, Jane, Francis Mutuku, Peter Mutua, Fred Magomere, Angela, karibuni sana. And